This is Scott the Fix-It Guy. Our goal with our videos is to empower you to be able to do the repairs on your own and save a whole lot of money and also get that great feeling of having fixed it by yourself. Today we have a Neptune laundry center and the washing machine is continually filling even when it's not on, so that we have to replace the water valve. The water valve is kind of stuck in a slightly open position. So to do this, we're going to unplug it. We're going to squirt some Windex or glass cleaner underneath the feet, and this is going to make it a little bit easier to slide it out. Kind of breaks the friction. You grab from the dryer and wiggle it side to side to get the thing away from the wall. And again, I'll turn off the water and going to take off these two water fill lines, the cold and the hot side, and I want to kind of keep track of which one goes where so I don't get them mixed up later. So the one on the right coming from the wall goes on the left side, just making sure I got it unplugged. I'm going to take my pliers and loosen up this one, and then I should be able to just take it off my fingers, get that out of the way. This is kind of an unconventional way to change the water valve. The manual talks about doing it by either removing the dryer or coming at it from the front, but this method takes the least amount of disassembly. So we're taking out 2 1/4-inch screws. We're going to then take off this bottom plate, which is held in by 1/4-inch screws. It's going to give us a little bit more access. And the water valve lives right up near the upper part of the washing machine, right where we see this part I'm touching right now. So I'm going to push this plate in at the top, and then I'll push the bottom all the way in. And once I get that all the way in, I'm going to take a 1/4-inch driver and remove one screw right here. This screw is holding the water valve onto this metal plate that I just loosened, so I want to remove that screw. That's going to help me to get this plate out of the way, give me a little more room to work. So I got that screw out of there. I'm going to push the water valve a little bit to the side and then push it out so it's separated from the plate. I'll remove the plate, and then I want to take a picture of all the connections. There's 5 modular connectors. I want to take a picture to make sure I know which one goes where. And then I'm going to remove all of these wire connectors by just pulling them straight off. And there's also 3 fill lines coming in, or rubber hoses coming in to the water valve in the back. And I want to take a picture of that too to get an idea of which one goes where. You could also take a marker, and you could mark 1, 2, and 3 just to help you remember which one goes where. The one closest to you could be 1, and 2 could be the middle, and 3 could be the one far away. I'm using a 1/4-inch drive to remove the little hose clamps, and I'm going to pull the hoses off. This is so I can get the water valve out of the washing machine to replace it. Just be careful you don't get the hoses mixed up. Now we got the old water valve out. Here's a link for the new one. This one's from Amazon. This doesn't come directly from Amazon, but there's a couple of sellers that have it. It's about $130. And here's the new part. I'm going to bring it in from the bottom up into position, and then I got the hoses back on, and I've got the modular connectors back on, and hoses go a certain way. It's kind of logical. The hose that's furthest to your right, that's the one that goes on the valve closest to you, and then the middle one goes to the middle, and the left one goes to the left. So now we're putting the new valve back into the bracket. We'll add that little screw back in to hold it from behind. And we're going to pull the whole bracket with the water valve back through the opening. Got to put the bottom in first. Pull that through, and then we'll put the top through, and then we'll add those two screws that hold it in position. It's a kind of tricky procedure because there's not a lot of room to work, but if you go slow, it should be fine. It is, again, a good idea to take pictures of where the wires go and where the hoses go. Here's looking from up underneath. You can see what it looks like. We added the screws back in. Now we're just using our fingers to start these fill lines. Make sure that you just take your time putting these on and then tighten them up. You don't, if it seems like they won't go on easily, then retry it, but you don't want to force these on. There should be about maybe 6 turns that you can easily do by hand before you use the pliers. If it's not going on easily and you start using the pliers early, it'll destroy the plastic threads. So get those on nice and tight. Now we'll turn the water back on and we'll plug it back in, and then just make sure that everything's working. Before it was just filling again by itself because the water valve was slightly stuck open. It's causing like a flood situation. If you have the hoses on incorrectly, what'll happen is it'll shoot too much water into the bleach dispenser and it'll flood out the front. So that's an indication that the hoses just got mixed up. But if you mark those hoses before you take them off, it should be easy to put them back on. So this worked really good. Let the water in correctly and it was no longer flooding. And now we're just going to put those panels back on. We're going to put the bottom one back into position, and then we're going to add the 4 1/4-inch screws that hold it on. Remember, when you look at the hoses, the one that's to your right goes to the valve on the right. The one that goes in the one that's in the middle goes to the valve in the middle, and the one furthest to the left goes to the valve to the left. So it's pretty straightforward when you peer into that cavity where the hoses are. Just tightening up those screws. We're going to spray some glass cleaner down underneath the feet, and that acts like a lubricant so we can more readily push the machine back into position. I'm going to get the dryer vent tube back on, and we are done. So thanks so much for watching. I hope this works for you, and look for a link for the part in the description below. Thanks again for watching.